We're going now. We're counting. 3,
Okay.
4, 5. So GrindWorks podcast episode 50.
Oh man, does this mean you're old?
It does. We're halfway to like a minimum goal because I chose 3 digits on the podcast number, so it's
Whoa.
050,
Oh man.
which means I have to get to 100, right? At a minimum, I can stop after that. But
Okay.
we have to hit 100.
Okay. I like this goal.
So we're sitting here. This Derek Nelson,
Hello.
HCS Skate Park, Spooky Action Industrial Arts, probably other things we could say, Black Rider. Trying to come in real quick on this one and just get through. I know I spoke about it briefly in the last episode without any real detail. There's currently a GoFundMe for HCS Skate Park, which in some degrees surprised me and some degrees does not. And we'll get into that after, but I just want to start out right into it. What is the GoFundMe for and why are you doing it?
The GoFundMe was started by Cassie, and it took me a while to let her to do it, but basically the purpose is what HCS has become over the years is not just a skate park. It's multiple things and multiple businesses that overlap, and they complement each other. And basically it's very complicated the way everything works together. But then on top of that, they've been essentially illegal for the 20-year history of it. And we've been able to run under the radar, close, reopen, and the middle of this winter, the town basically started legal filings and made it impossible for me and closed my business, all the businesses down and everything that we do down here. So the purpose of the GoFundMe basically is to help get me past the hurdle of the fallout from the past 6 months financially with the town and the businesses and all the overlaps that entail that, basically, because one can't exist without the other. So if I'm going to continue operating, I need all of it to operate, and it's just expensive to run a business by yourself, work, fight town battle. It just gets very expensive trying to cover all the costs, and essentially it's impossible.
So, I know some of you guys only dip in, dip out on these episodes. So right now, just going to say, hit the description. There's a link for the GoFundMe if you're interested. Check out the @HCS Skate Park Instagram page. The link is also there. You can kind of keep up with what's going on in that regard. As far as getting back into it, a little bit more details go. The reason I say it's surprising is I've known you a long time, and I know that you are a work 24 hours a day to get through this on your own and make it happen as best you can person before you'll ever ask anyone for help.
I'd say that's true. There's always exceptions, but it's true. I prefer not to. I prefer to deal with, and I tried to. That's why it took 6 months to get to this point. Everyone has their limits, and you just basically have to be flexible with the times. So, if you either change with the times, adapt, and try to keep moving, or you crash and burn, basically. And sometimes, no matter how hard you work, it doesn't really matter. You're only one person. You only can do so much stuff. So that's what it boiled down to at this point is, I'm to that point where, I was getting by, but costs were accruing from the town closing everything down on me, the pandemic, we were a year into it. It was midwinter. My supplemental income was crashing because of the winter and because of the pandemic. And then basically the town steps in and just literally eradicates all income for me, you know. And I tried to deal with it in multiple ways, but just over time, over the past 6 months, it becomes apparent when you're trying to deal with all that stuff. You just keep accruing more issues financially, and you're looking out, trying to figure out how to get back to a similar place where you were at before and on good footing where it can be stable again. And it just becomes apparent that probably now would be the time to do something different, like a GoFundMe, and Cassie offered it. So I was like, I agreed to it because just recently where we're at with the town basically allowed me to cross that bridge. Before, we were in sort of this nether region legally, and it just was not a good idea to poke our heads up in any way, shape, or form at that time. Mm-hmm. So now we're at a point where we can start having some visibility to the problem, and thus doing a GoFundMe, and everyone's jumping in. It's actually sort of overwhelming.
I can imagine. Because the GoFundMe is not really the first line that was coming in with some support, because Tom Doing was also, I know at least he was doing some custom grip tape and art and stuff and trying to sell that and get you some cash flow in that manner as well. Was there anything else that I'm missing? And I'll need to get the link from you for that, or find it or something. Yeah, I can include all of that stuff in the description.
Yeah. Tom was the first one to start it, just because Tom used to help me run the place. So basically, I don't think I'll overstep my grounds here, but I think he loves HCS. So
maybe his sarcasm might use other words, but
but so he basically, is willing to bend over backwards for me, but he wanted to do something, so I agreed to that. And then at that point, I was like, well, Tom, if you're doing that, I need to tell Cassie. She can do it. And then once that happened, now there's more people jumping on the bandwagon, and I'm all for it, basically, at this point. So, if we exceed our goals, it's not really a problem. It's just going to get dumped back into the skate park. So, it's going to be pretty hard to exceed the goals. So,
right. I mean,
the problems are not over. So, the status of it right now is the skate park paperwork after 6 months should be going to the town agenda. So, the previous paperwork was filed 4 months ago, I think. So it took them 4 months to get the fabrication arm of HCS back open, which is Spooky Action. So the park is anyone's guess, because the paperwork is also much more elaborate and time consuming, because it requires calling the neighbors, doing site surveys, doing environmental impact studies, seeing how the park affects the property line. It's extravagant, basically. So it's anyone's guess how that can go, and we'll sort of, that could get expensive. So, basically it's anyone's game as far as what this is going to take. I'm just trying to recoup and get myself back on some sort of level ground before we enter into the next phase, which is the skate park paperwork with the town.
Well, and before you even you said 2 months, it took you roughly 2 months to get the the paperwork and everything for Spooky Action in about 4 months for them to approve it, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
That doesn't include the month or so that you weren't even allowed in the building because your occupancy was revoked.
Yeah, it was bananas, basically. And this is in the middle of the pandemic, a year into it in the middle of winter. And if you know fabrication work, which is what the main income is for HCS in the wintertime, it's construction related most of the time. So construction dies down significantly in the wintertime. So essentially it's a slow period for income anyway, in good times. So.
And you had last year, I don't even remember when we did the jam. It was July, maybe, roughly.
Yeah.
You were having, like, incidents where people were just patrolling and, like, coming down onto the property and everything anyway. Kind of, I don't want to use the word harassing because it might be out of turn, but, like, there were people that weren't authorized to be on the property poking around, right?
Yeah, it's because we're in a weird spot. We're like basically in a sort of suburban neighborhood, but in an old industrial we're like the only old industrial building in the neighborhood, and essentially we're doing what every person in this neighborhood probably doesn't want us to do. So it's like this focal point for the neighborhood because it's really out of place in this neighborhood. So that's probably what, the people from the neighborhood, they definitely have caused problems with complaints and stuff like that, but the real problems come from the town and come from when the police come down here, because the town and the police work together on zoning and code and enforcement and all that entails, basically. So it gets very sketch when they enter the property.
Mm-hmm. I know you have a gate up now, so that should hopefully keep people out.
Yeah, it's just
but at least from a legal standpoint, because now it's marked.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, that sucks overall. Everything about that. I don't really know how to put it any other way.
Yeah. It is bureaucracy and government in the United States. So that's just the reality of what it is. What you have to do is become some sort of monster and force your way through it and survive somehow. Get to the other side. Or die trying, one of the two.
Yeah. I don't really even want to, like, stay on the lame part for all that long. Like, unless you want to get into the nuts and bolts of everything that was wrong with the place, which I don't think is really all that relevant, at least for a podcast episode.
No, it's probably boring.
I mean, we could either keep this ultra short, or we can just kind of talk about whatever.
Pitter about. How about we talk about some future plans for HCS that I have?
Perfect. Oh, actually, I got a question because it's going to pertain to what you're already doing anyway.
Okay.
Do you have to provide drawings for all the, like, installations you have here?
It is entirely possible. Like I said, the paperwork, when you look at it, it's insane because it's purposely written very vague. So, and on top of that, the way the laws are, I've been learning about this for 6 months now.
Mm-hmm.
It's written vague, and the laws are written so they can be interpreted or applied or not applied whenever the town sees fit. So you would think that a law is black and white, but when it comes to zoning and code in townships, that is not the case. So, like, if you think that you can just, like, without being immensely wealthy, challenge something, it's just not, it doesn't happen, basically, because litigation will go on for years just challenging one thing. So, the way you deal with that is you keep your head down, do what they want, zip your mouth shut, basically, and try to just like whatever, grovel at their feet until it's over, and then piss them off again, and then do the whole process over again, essentially.
I guess that was leading into what I was actually going to ask was, if there's another concrete pour, I assume all of that stuff has to be on the up and up from now on.
It's gray.
Or is it all right?
It's gray.
We don't have to talk about if there's another concrete pour then, but
yeah, there will be more concrete poured. Whether we file building permits is another thing, because technically ramps fall in this amorphous area where there's not really a law stating that you need to get a building permit for it, because it's not even a parking lot and it's not a building. So
it's not a storage structure.
Yeah, it's not a storage structure. It doesn't really fit anywhere. So
is it landscaping?
It could basically, you could argue it being anything. It could be visual art. It could be landscape. Like, essentially, like what I'm still looking into all this, but the few bits of paper that I do have that refer to going forward with the town and what our responsibilities are, they have nothing to do with the park yet, but the fabrication arm, they were very specific, saying that I need to file building permits for any changes or improvements to the building, but they never said the grounds. So I don't really know. Basically, I need to talk to a lawyer, and because to get a building permit every time I build or pour something on the property, it's just not practical. Basically, it just would not work.
Well, I asked specifically about the concrete because anything else is portable structure. It's not even structure.
Yeah.
You can pick it up, put it out of the way, whatever. So, like,
Yep.
It would almost take you back to 15 years ago
Exactly.
of wooden ramps. So what?
Yeah,
but
exactly. Like, in a lot of ways, that is the reality. Like, say worst case scenario that we do have to get building permits, it's no longer worth pouring the concrete. So, we would just regress. We would do something different. That would be not considered permanent, but it would be semi-permanent. So like the giant steel ramps that are in the parking lot, those are not considered permanent things. So why not just, go down that road? Lumber is batshit fucking crazy expensive now. I'm not building anything with wood because it is so fucking expensive.
It's like $60 a sheet of plywood now, and 2x4s are like $8.
Yeah, a sheet of Luan is fucking $36. I looked it up the other day. It's like triple the price. OSB subfloor is over 400% higher than it was like a few months ago. So it's like not building a single thing out of wood right now. You can build out of a lot of other stuff. We're not building out of wood.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I know my buddy Josh just was like, sent me a link to, I think, Home Depot.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, are these the 2x4s you would buy for building a ramp outside? And it was like $8.50. I'm like,
no.
Yes, but they should be like $3.
Yeah. 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 So, like, for example, if we ever did do something out of wood, you can't get plywood, but there's a pretty awesome ghetto mill that's up towards Owego that we could get just wood sawn up from someone local, and it's going to be much cheaper. So, if I did use wood for anything, it will all be sawn up by a local mill direct.
Yeah, plank wood.
Yeah, planks and 1x12s, and then we can just plane them down so they're smooth. I probably won't go down that road just because compared to right now, it's anyone's guess, but basically no building with wood.
All right, so back to what you were gonna go into. Let's assume everything's good and you're good to open back up tomorrow.
Okay.
What do you? What's the plan?
Well, I already have. When the town stuff, I already had stuff in the works. So, and while the town stuff going on, I'm just planning on it working out. So I'm accruing shit and getting ready to do things. The biggest one is it's taken me 20 years, but I accrued a light pole, three metal halide lamps for it, and all the accoutrement to install a light pole for the parking lot. So we can do night sessions in the parking lot.
Nice.
Which we used to do that, but it's very dark out there, and it's basically going to be like shitty stadium lighting. So it will be pretty epic. I'm sort of looking forward to late night session with the lights on.
Well, I know even like at the peak of having late night sessions, it was like, okay, bring all the ramps as close to the building as we can. Yeah. Or if we have to ride something off on the other side, we got to string out like 3 extension cords and a work light and figure that all out.
And when we had lights on the building, they were all just like $20 construction halogen lamps screwed to the walls and stuff. So it was like...
And they were orange. Yeah. As orange as they could be.
Yeah. And then they were like catch fire once in a while because they weren't meant to be outside permanently and stuff. So...
Nah, nonsense.
Yeah. But so that will be the first thing on the agenda just because I got everything to do it. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then the next thing I'll probably do is I have a whole bunch of, if you've ever been here, you've probably seen all the pump track modular pieces I have that are sort of like little S panels that go up and down. I recently got a whole bunch of 55-gallon drums, and they will be the like substructure, so I'll turn them into a whole bunch of different quarter pipes, so we'll be able to like basically make like a box jump or just a huge quarter pipe wall, because we don't have a ton of typical just plain old quarter pipes down here.
Yeah.
So it'll be sort of fun to be able to like have 50 feet of quarter pipe if we want it, or ever, if it's a back-to-back spine, or split it apart, or, put a giant hip in or something like that. So that'll probably be the next thing, because I have all the material here. It just has to be cut up and welded.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and if you really wanted to poke the bear, you're allowed to fab right now. You could just be doing it.
I know. Yeah, the hard part is like, dealing with the town, paying bills, and fabbing up ramps that no one's using. So it's like, yeah. I thought about it, trust me, because I want to do that too. Like, there's a whole bunch of weird, stupid, crazy shit I just want to do for myself down here. Mm-hmm. Like the U-rail, I want to put a bump halfway in it that just bolts on, which I am so excited about that. So it's just going to be like that 45-foot long U-rail, except on the back side, there's going to be like a shallow up and down to it. And then maybe a kicker on one end that you can like bolt onto the rail, so you can air out of the end when you get to it. It's like a satisfaction that you actually made it around the rail.
I like it.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of smaller stuff too, like the bolt together 40-foot long flat bar. I made a quarter pipe end for it last year, but I really want to make a landing for it now. So it will be a quarter pipe and then a wedge for the other side. So basically it's going to be a box jump at a rail.
I like it. That'll be terrifying.
Yeah, and I might make 2 of the wedge, the landing sections. So then it could be a roller coaster up rail, or you could have a pyramid shaped up down but tall.
Yeah, you could just make a little connector triangle or
exactly,
something.
Yeah, so a few different rail things, and then a whole bunch of just smaller trinkety bolt-on steel things that will be really fun to ride.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
I mentioned that I talked about this in the last podcast. I recorded it while driving yesterday, just kind of like rambling. So it's like it's probably the worst podcast ever listened to on GrindWorks. But it's because I had some stuff I had to like, I was avoiding putting that episode out. I'm like, I got 6 hours right now. Like, if I don't just record this, it's going to be
okay,
a
so
waste
the real
of my
question
time.
is, were you in the car by yourself?
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, that's a little bit better. I was just imagining your whole family in there.
I like that better.
and you torturing
I'm
them.
just talking to myself and an invisible audience, and they're just like, would you shut up?
Basically, that's what I had in my head.
I kind of like that idea.
I do too.
But that's where I was like talking about, the park GoFundMe, whatever, and I'm like, I don't know, while I'm up there, maybe I'll talk to Derek, see if he even wants to talk about this, or if he's just tired of talking about it, which is entirely possible.
I am a bit.
But it's almost good to just have it all out somewhere, too, and then you can just be like, just listen to this.
Yes, it is. Which is part, it's hard. I mean, there are a lot of things that, just so everyone knows, I could go into much more detail, but I cannot do that right now for a whole bunch of reasons that I can't actually go into just because it would be damaging to me and my situation. So,
yeah.
Basically, I'm giving you as much as I can.
Well, and the goal is to get HCS up and running again. The goal is not to cause problems with the town, get other people involved trying to
exactly.
to either drum up support or whatever, or hatred for the town. Like,
exactly.
the town is passive in this discussion almost right now, because what we need is to just work through whatever they tell
and
us.
just have them out of the picture is the goal. And the quicker you do that, the faster we succeed in getting the place open.
Mm-hmm.
So it sort of sucks real bad, but that's what it is right now. So
yeah, but we haven't even picked a jam of any sort for this year, like at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like pretty convinced we're just gonna do like Binghamton Street Jam again.
Sweet.
Maybe probably go back to like the first year we linked up at Sherry Lindsay and then just did a street jam.
Yeah. Well, I have a better idea. I'm not going to mention
the town,
but you might do it
in the town. Yes.
Yeah. And then every time you get harassed, you might be
I don't know, the skate park's not open, so
yeah, that might be a good
approach. I already thought about that. I'm not sure how much we want to.
That might have a deleterious effect.
Yeah, as if you were involved. I can't even put your name on the flyer this year then.
So here's one. It was either, I don't remember when we came up with it, but we were talking about petitions and phone calls recently, trying to figure out what to do about that, because soon they'll start having, part of the skate park is public hearing. They'll have to have a public hearing for it, and deciding how to approach that. And I think right now we haven't put anything out yet, but we're going to be doing probably a petition, but it will be a form petition, and then we'll print it off and deliver it, because we don't want to really go down the road of calls, because essentially that could be a form of like them getting really pissed off that they're getting harassed by volumes of people. Mm-hmm. And then we can show support with a written type petition that's printed off and delivered during the hearing time, and people can still show up at that time, but it's more just a way to, instead of like with a politician, you're like, call their office, on this level, it probably wouldn't work because it's a small local government. It'll probably have a negative effect. And
no offense, listeners, but BMX and skateboarders and the like aren't necessarily known for speaking eloquently.
Maybe. You never know.
Not always.
It depends on what you consider elegant. I think they're some of the most elegant. Screaming swear words is my favorite thing ever.
Yeah, well, just,
the people
I don't know that it would help having them calling.
Yeah.
But definitely, if there's a written petition, whether it's like actual physical signatures or like an online, I assume is what's
we'll
normal
probably
at this
be going
point.
down the online route just because it'll be easier
I'll make
for
sure I get that out there for
everyone to
too.
access. But yeah, that's going on. Probably.
Cool.
We haven't gotten there yet, but when we get time, we'll get it up.
Yeah, I guess you have to know what your goals are, so you can state it, and they parallel what you're putting into the town.
Yeah.
So that's good, but yeah, hopefully we'll be able to. I just gotta pick dates at this point.
Yeah.
Make a jam happen.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Might as well.
Yeah.
It's debatably might be more fun for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's one for you. We'll call them a Binghamton crew. Binghamton crew is started to build stuff in Owego, so that could be your after you get kicked out of everywhere.
Link up and
a little session.
Cool down there.
Just to support them building stuff, show up there and ride it's smaller stuff.
Yeah.
But there's no one building anything in Binghamton right now besides that crew, so
yep.
It'd be cool just to support that right now.
Yeah.
It's nice to see someone taking it upon themselves to do it.
Yeah. I'm stoked to see that too, because I think there's some like ledges and stuff going on down there.
And they're planning on continuing, so that would be a good little wrap-up spot.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad.
Yeah.
Hopefully people would travel. I know, that gets weird. I feel like you can kill half of a jam as soon as you try to move people.
Yeah. Or the other route we could go is you could all show up here, and I could just be gone. So if there's an issue, I just won't even be at the skate park. And then if the cops come and be like, the owner's not here, we're just hanging out here, and it won't have anything to do with me.
I don't want to cause any problems, even though it sounds like a fun thing to. You know what the funny thing is? Probably wouldn't even notice.
Probably not. Yeah.
I don't want to put money on it, but I bet we could just do a jam.
Yeah.
And it would probably go unnoticed.
Probably, but in the slight off chance that a cop
it would
comes
be
down
a nightmare.
and I'm here, or the doors are open, basically, then there'll be a massive problem.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll make the problems that already exist probably unapproachable for a long time. So that's probably a bad idea.
It's probably a bad idea, but it's fun to talk about.
Yes, it is.
I keep seeing they're either like comments or they're direct messages and stuff, because I see the HCS Instagram, but I try not to open it because I'm not here to actively have input. Plus, with everything going on, I know Jacqueline's got it pretty much tight and under wraps, so I just let her go. And I see so much stuff come in on there like, hey, well, if you're not open, can we just rent the parking lot or something? And it's like, I don't think you understand what not open means.
Yeah, it's not a good situation, basically.
That was the other thing. I was like, all right, if you have the GoFundMe, we should at least talk about this so that people understand, you're not just closed because you're busy and you can't have the park open right now. You're closed because there's a lot of bureaucratic nonsense going on.
Yeah, and the long-term situation for the park, whether it exists or not, that's sort of the scope of it. It's like existing or not existing rides upon what's happening right now. So that's why it's sort of crucial right at this moment in time not to push the border of that until they are done doing their legally, until they decree closed or open, basically. At which point, then we can start pushing the border again. Even if they go closed, we can still have private events down here. It can still be used privately.
Well, now it's street riding then, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's permanently closed, but there's nothing illegal about using your private property and having friends down. So, even if we have worst case scenario, it won't be the end of everything. It will just look a lot different than it has in the past.
Yep.
it'll be detrimental to, plans for the future and stuff like that, but it won't just, go away. So,
I don't imagine you wouldn't keep pushing even if that was the solution.
Yeah, exactly.
That came up.
Yeah.
Just change the way you approach it and
yes,
figure out the best way to move forward with it.
yeah.
You're in a unique situation though, because like I can't think of any other private park that's not either associated with like a township or completely indoor.
Yes.
In any remote like reasonably distance from here.
Yeah.
Reasonable distance from here. That would even be a reference point for like the outdoor scope of the skate park. Because just as the mini ramp, okay, it's an indoor skate park and you can kind of bundle it with what other people are doing in an indoor skate park. Outdoor is weird.
Yeah, and that's part of the, I'm assuming that's probably part of the problem with the town too, is because it's not, when you look at it, even to someone that has no experience with riding or skate parks, it doesn't even look like a skate park. So that automatically like throws up red flags for towns and governing bodies, because it's like they don't know how to patrol it, and they don't know how to like what to do with it basically.
They don't have to patrol it, it's private.
Yeah. So it's like there's a reason why there aren't a lot of places like this. It's because it's in this very gray area that no one goes into. Because
and the graffiti is a gray area all in itself.
Yes. Yeah. The whole business model is a gray area. It's a fucking catastrophe waiting.
You have a business model?
Yeah. Yeah, it's called fuck capitalism. It's a not good. So my recommendation is don't listen to what I say, because you'll ruin your life.
Do you have any barely in business shirts still? You still have the stencil
I still
for that?
have the
or
stencil.
whatever?
I haven't made one in a long
Maybe we
time.
should make a couple of those.
Yeah. I just made the shirt I'm wearing now is a graphic I made a while ago, but I haven't had time to paint it. And it says HCS Upstate New York, and then born out of a capitalistic crash. I love that shirt, but essentially that's the reality of...
I mean, it's pretty much true of the area since about the late 80s.
Yeah. The reason I'm here, the reason I was able to do what I'm doing, the culture I grew up in at the time, is all because of that. So that's sort of like, I don't know, just sort of says it all.
Yeah. I mean, it hasn't gotten any better around here, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely changed though.
Yeah, it's changed. I just don't see it on the upslope. They've made efforts to try to bring it around.
Yeah.
As far as other fun new things, I mean, I don't know what else you've got or had. I guess at this point it's what you had in mind.
Yeah.
Doing.
Yeah, I've been holding tight on a few things that I have built up. They are well-developed plans for the future, but I don't want to go over them right now because I don't want to get people excited about them.
Yep.
Because they're a lot of work to instate and move forward, and they're only going to work once this stuff clears up. So I don't want to get everyone like fucking losing their shit about them, because I love them and I think other people like them, but I don't want to start rolling them out or hinting at them until after I can legally actually do things again.
Fair enough.
So
what can you do right now? So like if anyone has metal fab work they need done, they can obviously reach out.
Everything that Spooky Action is, I can do. So if it has to do with making crap, I can do it. So if it has to do with skate park, no. But, if you need architectural pieces made, yes. If you need custom bike stuff done, yes. If you need wheels laced up, yes. Like, you name it, I can probably make it for you. Like, yeah. So it's just basically everything to do with spooky action.
Okay,
Industrial
so
arts.
that includes like all the button making, the screen printing if you're set up for that, any of that type of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so if anyone has like needs for stuff like that, definitely reach out.
Yep. And, we have other, it all is riding on clearing up these issues, because I don't want to start rolling out changes that have to do with the reason I closed in 2016, which sort of has to do with all of this, because the business itself needed to be remodeled. It couldn't just be the skate park anymore, which is why I launched Spooky Action and sort of remodeled the interior and changed the business model and changed the client base around, and basically everything changed. But both Spooky Action and the skate park are complementary businesses that need to work together. And with the town doing all this stuff, basically it just trashed like the last 6 years of work that I did. And we were literally right before they closed us. That's when I was starting to roll out. I was getting ready to roll out all the big things that, everyone's like, what's going on? Blah, 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 blah. It's like, I have been working hard and I have big plans, but you need to have a foundation to put those on and the time to do it. So that, is where it's at now. Like, they're ready. It's just now the town has me pinched.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you said 2016 is when you closed officially?
Yeah.
That feels like so long ago.
It was a long time ago. A lot has happened in my life, and holdups and delays, and it was fucking expensive, and, I'm not going to go into all that shit.
No, I wasn't trying to poke there either.
Yeah.
Because you closed for the reasons you're like loosely talking about. 2020, yeah, right at the very beginning of 2020, you were getting into some other stuff, like being able to do some screenings and stuff here, and like some of the other more fun things that you used to be able to do, you were finally getting, not consistently, but you were able to do them with a little bit of help, whether it was from Ben or other people kind of coming in, dropping in, doing their thing, where it was kind of a passive thing for you, is what it seemed like, where you provided the venue, but they handled the event they wanted to handle. Right after that, at the beginning of 2020, no one was allowed to do anything. We got a little bit of like a window of hope in the summer, where things loosened way up. We did the jam. You and I had talked, and you had said that was kind of the unofficial reopening of the park.
It was. We were going to have like an official one, but because of COVID and
everything locked right back down after the jam.
Basically, yes,
It got crazy again to the point where it was like, should we have even done the jam?
Yeah.
But, I mean, is what it is at that point.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean, we were having, I was trying to have hours every week, until about December-ish, which is we closed because we were having clustering issues with the young people, basically. And they were putting up selfies and, riding footage of everyone, like, clustered in a little group on the mini ramp in the dead of winter during, like, peak COVID time. So we closed because of that to figure out a reservation system. When we did that is when the town came in and closed us. And then from there on out, we've been closed by the town. So it was like, we even had that little boost of extra closure because they lined it up perfect for us.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you've been essentially closed for 6 years, which
Yeah.
is the worst part.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you've had a couple of things, but for the most part, it's been our jams that's been the
Yep.
big time that you've been open.
Yep.
So you're open for what, like 2 days at a time?
Yes.
So I'm super hopeful.
I am too.
Super stoked to get back to like HCS being open.
It's true. I'm excited about that too. I want that bad, basically. And, you know, no matter what, it's never going to go back to how it was in the early 2000s. I don't want it to go back there. And the whole point of closing it in 2016 was to make it so the business can be sustained long term and change and be even better than it was before, basically. So
Yeah.
that's the goal. And that was my goal, and it continues to be my goal, and I'm still here basically fighting for that. And thus me breaking down and telling people they can step in and help if they want. So
When it's almost not you're not asking for help as much as it's like a DIY effort.
basically, yeah, I mean, HCS has sort of always been like a communal space, so I have no problem with that. You know, for the most part, you know, I do a lot of work down here, but at the same time, nothing exists without the support of everyone around you, and I will be the first to admit that. So I have no problem crediting everyone that's come here past, you know, in the past, in the more recent, and then right up to now and into the future. Like, it's a collaborative effort with all parties involved, and basically everyone plays their role as best as they can, and they do what they can, and that's how you get something amazing. And it's when you sort of like give up and step back that you lose all of that stuff, which is like, you know, it doesn't take much to sort of for a person to just go, oh, fuck it, I don't care anymore. And, you know, you'll just lose everything good in your life if you
That would be the easiest thing for you to do right now.
No, yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways.
Nope, okay, whatever.
For me to say fuck it and just walk away makes great financial sense. And probably I would ride my bike more and like, but, you know, I just can't bring myself to do it. There's basically too many people that care too much about the space and what it meant to them and what it will continue to mean if I can keep it going, and what it represents for the community in Binghamton and even the larger community too. And you know, it's my futile attempt to fight systemic problems in our society, basically, but I don't really care because everyone has to do their best they can on that if they want to see some sort of change in their lifetime. So you know, if you don't challenge structures and authority, even if you fail, the act of challenging is enough to, you know, chip away at it a little bit. So without challenging, you just lose fucking everything, basically. So
you said 20 years.
Yeah.
When did you start, actually? Like, when I know the gist of this and everything. I know you didn't start HCS originally. Andy did.
Yeah. The official opening date of the park to the public was in 2002. But that's not really that's when we had, like, the town came and closed us, basically. That was the first town closure. It's when we got a newspaper article written and then they closed us that time. You know, so you know, my brother started to build some ramps down here, and we started to ride down here consistently and had crews down here in 97. So it's actually been longer than 20 years, but I just take the median because there's like a time period, pre-opening in 2002 where, yeah, we were basically open, but it wasn't like the official grand opening. So, everyone from the Triple Cities was coming down and riding and throwing us a few bucks to ride the ramps and stuff like that. And we had products down here, but we weren't actually had the official opening in 2002 with the tax number. So the 2002 is the tax number year when we started to pay, sales tax and all that jazz.
And be a business.
Yeah, and be legitimate.
That was good.
God. We've been legitimate 20 years.
That's funny. Sure.
Yeah, that didn't really work out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually thinking, I was driving up to my mom's today for Mother's Day, and I was thinking about just her and, she, in a lot of ways, facilitated this place happening and supported it. But beyond that, facilitated me and my riding, like, weird mom. Like, she used to go out on street riding stuff with us and, like, take road trips. So it's like, and fund road trips and stuff like that. So
I've ridden in the back of your mom's van
Yeah,
on a trip to
exactly.
Pittsburgh.
yeah, and like, take us down to New York, and stuff like that. It just gets expensive, and there's just been so many people that have helped over the years, and it's all been like, when I was thinking about all of this, it's like there's a lot of walks of life, basically, and lots of people have seen different things in what we're doing down here, and that's amazing. And I'm like, what do we do down here at this point? And I'm like, what is this business built on? And in my head, the first thing I popped in was, I think the business is built on lying, cheating, and stealing. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Like, there's hard work in there, but none of this would have existed without all of that. Like, basically, it was essential to, like, everything that's down here is lying, cheating, and stealing.
Okay.
But it's like, it's sort of funny because, like, so many different people have contributed to it. The only people that have not contributed to that, and in some ways they have, but not really, are police in the town. The way the police in town have contributed, or they have forced us further down that road. Okay?
Yeah.
So would we choose a different path if it was, would I and all the people that have worked on whatever the fuck this is down here chosen a different way of doing it? If we could do it legitimately? Probably. Why the hell not?
Sure would be easier.
Yeah, it would be easier, and like, you wouldn't have to, like, yeah, it would just be a whole fuck ton easier on a whole bunch of different fronts. But like, so yeah, they're responsible for forcing us down this road, and I'm responsible for continuing to go down this road, and other people are like, woo, this is amazing, let's support this. Like, even my mom, she's like, she loves everything that's happened down here, but it is a risky business that you play. So
yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of elements of that. There's also, like, what is the business? I guess you're looking at, like, the nuts and bolts of it from your side.
Yeah.
From the average person that's spent a lot of time down here, I would say it's built. It's like you just learn a lot. It's a lot of DIY. It's a maker space of sorts where, any other skate park you go to, it's like, hey, it'd be really cool if you had this thing that I want to ride. And they go, yeah, man, whatever. Great, add it to the list. If anyone comes down here and is like, hey, it'd be really cool if you had this thing so that we could ride it, either A, you already have it. 2, or B, you can make it out of stuff you've already got. Or C, you're like, yeah, man, here's like the screw gun and a bunch of screws and there's a pile of wood over there.
Yeah.
Make it. Go ahead.
It's true. Yeah.
And it extends beyond the ramps and everything. Because it's like from concrete skills with ramps or even just like patch repair.
Yeah.
Screen printing. And I haven't gotten involved in like metalwork side, but I know there's so much going on down here that I think it's impossible to come down here more than once and not learn.
It's true. And the thing I'm not going to go into because it's in development, it talks part of the next thing we're going to be releasing, depending on what happens with the town. Part of that will be describing and putting into words what you're talking about in the way in which I see this business in quotes functioning and the purpose of it. So we've had that in the past. My brother basically did the original work on like the core pillars, of what we're trying to do, and I agreed with him, and we sort of co-mingled our ideas, and that was like the guiding principles of everything we did down here. But it's changed. Everything's changed basically. It needs to be updated, and that's part of Spooky Action, and that will be once we get a little bit of relief and something happens with the town. We'll be releasing some stuff, and it will be a description of basically what the future is going to look like and why we're doing it and how we're going to do it and what's going to be involved. So I already have it all written up. It's all planned. I have all the logistics planned for it. It's going to work fine. It's just I don't want to start that because I'm technically closed, so there's no point in me rolling that out now and be like, look at this amazing thing that I can't do anything with because I'm not open right now.
Yay.
Woo!
I'm full of great ideas.
Yeah, it's like a big long manifesto that means nothing because we can't implement it right now. So I'm waiting until the town stuff wraps up to roll that out. But what you're talking about has been on the forefront of my mind pre the town, even more so now the town stuff's going on. But it has been a big topic in my mind, is sort of like distilling that, because it's confusing. It's confusing to me, and I don't fucking work down here all the time, and like I can imagine just being like some random person that comes down.
I'm sure that becomes confusing too when you're sitting here going, what is this place and what are we even doing?
Yeah.
It adds that element of like you're trying to justify pushing forward on all this, but you don't even know what you're doing, and you're just like, why? Why am I doing this then?
Yeah. And to be fair, I've known what I've been doing, from the beginning, clearly. Whether that was clear to other people, that's, we never had it really written down beyond some of the work my brother's done with the Outlaw Collective. And that wasn't really a manifesto on HCS, but it had a lot to do with what we were doing down here. So it's like, yeah, it will be good to finally have that out once this town shit is over one way or the other, because it will enable people to, whether you came in the past and appreciated it or whether you come in the future and appreciate it, when you look at it, it's hard to put into words what's there and like why you like it so much and what's different about it, because it's hard to even explain what's different about it. And you're like, I don't really get it.
Well, I think maybe I've never thought about it in this regard, but the thing you're talking about or the things you're talking about might be the same reason that certain people come down here for years and years and years and then never come again.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the case. Yeah, because it's treacherous road, you know, like there is, we'll just call it sex appeal to what's going on down here, but the reality of, like, if you try to embody like the pillars of what I want and what I believe in, you know, they're great things to have and I strongly recommend them, but they are also very not good if you want to live a normal life. So, you know, if you want to have a family and kids, don't embody what HCS is about because it will run you into the ground and it's not a good decision, basically. So, yeah.
Do you want to talk about the motto?
Kill yourself?
Yeah. What? Because there's like so many layers to what that means or what it could mean.
Yeah, I mean, there are. It's very old at this point, and it started simply, and it encompasses generational gaps now at this point too, you know, but it's held, and it's held for a reason. The original meaning was basically just kill yourself. So do the best, I'm going to use the word extreme, but basically just whatever you're doing, do it all the way. Don't fucking do like a half-ass job at anything. Like if you're going to try to do something, even if you suck at it, just fucking go all in on it and basically kick ass even if you suck at it. It doesn't really matter. Most people don't realize, like, people that are amazing, they're amazing people and they're terrible at what they do, but it's because they're like, I'm gonna fucking murder this shit and I'm gonna fucking,
they just love it so much.
They just love it so much. It has nothing to do with like their skill level or, you know, whatever, but that's, you know, that was the basis of Kill Yourself in the beginning, is just like go all in on it.
That's what, anytime I've ever been asked about it, that's almost word for word what I've always said to people. Yeah. Without even knowing. I've never asked you what your take on it was. I don't think. But that's what I'm always like, okay, so if you want something, right? People say they want something all the time. And I want that so bad. But I'm not going to kill myself over it. Well, no one's going to freaking hand it to you. Yeah. You need to go work for it, and run yourself into the ground, and take it.
Yeah, and at that point, too, it's luck of the draw. You live in fucking America. You could be dealt a bad hand, and you might never accomplish it, but that's no reason not to fucking try either. Like, at least you try. And then if you get run into the ground, that sucks, but you tried at least. So that's all it was. And the other purpose of it was, I'm not a big fan of American, we'll say, values and culture, maybe. It's the best way of putting it, without going into great detail. But I wanted something that would be offensive to the masses, but anyone that understood in context what we were getting at would absolutely understand it and get it like you did. Yeah. So, you know, to an average person, like, we would get lots of complaints about, my mother died or committed suicide. I find that offensive. I'm like, well, that's not what we're talking about. It shouldn't be,
but I understand your concern. Yeah. That's not what it means.
Yeah, it's sort of like a curse word, too, you know, like, it can be.
No, it's hard hitting, for sure.
That was the whole point of it, is to be offensive and to move people.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you talk about not being a fan of American values and stuff, and I'm gonna guess probably anyone that doesn't know you personally probably doesn't know that you've been on different like missions trips around the world and done all sorts of stuff not in the US that really open your eyes to the way things are too. And not just the way you grew up and were kind of molded at a young age, but being elsewhere, you see a lot of stuff.
Yes. Totally true. I don't know how much detail I should go into that, but basically, yeah, I mean, you go from America to a third world country when you're in your early teens, and then again in your late teens on a trip that's stated purpose is to put in a medical facility in a third world country, but you're bringing everything from America, installing it, and then it's run by a religious institution that's purpose is to convert people to their belief system. Later when you're that young, you don't really get it, but then later in life, you look back and
There's a lot of inherent flaws in that idea.
It's horrific, basically. It's awful.
You could have literally kickstarted an entire industry there and used all of their resources and materials and shown them how to do this.
Yeah.
But you didn't.
Yeah. It's because it's not really about helping people. It's about conforming them to your ideal standard, basically, and justifying why you have more resources than them or better resources, or justifying your belief system. And all of that is not just an inherent in religious institutions that go elsewhere. That is inherent in American society. And it's fucking gross, basically, and it causes a lot of different problems. And what going on those trips did was basically channeled my inner rage in my late teen years and made all that stuff incredibly crystal clear, which is about the time I started HCS and sort of developed all this stuff and the kill yourself motto. And to a certain extent, life is much easier if you don't ever go down that road, because
stay in your bubble.
Yeah, it makes life is probably a bit easier to live if you're okay with norms and you just do what you need to do to get by. I just can't bring myself to go there yet, so I can understand the appeal of it, though. I mean, it's the same reason religious institutions and beliefs are appealing to people, is because they offer comfort and stability and basically everything that a human wants. Whether that's good for them or not, that's totally up to you to decide, but I would say no. Those things come from you don't just get them for free. Stability and all the things that make a person happy, they come from collaboration in a society that cares about each other, not a society that is built on you gaining more is me having less. So that's sort of what American society is at this point in time, in my belief, is it's someone's gain is always someone else's loss, and that is the furthest thing from the fucking truth.
No, it should be and is a lot of other places where you build each other up together. If I'm doing well, that means you can do well.
Yeah. And the American bootstrap mythos, like you work hard and you get what you deserve. Pandemic, one beauty of it is it's made it crystal clear because it's distilling and showing the more people, maybe not all of them, but a lot of people, that it is complete shit. So maybe they're getting wrong at the wrong institutions or the wrong people, but you know, that's part of what you're seeing in the pandemic is essentially whether they're like fucking whacked out Republican psychopaths or the other end of the spectrum, they're just basically seeing the cracks and fissures forming from a society that believes that everything you work for you get, because it's just insanity. Like, you can be sick when you're born. Like, to believe in something like that, you're a goddamn idiot, basically. So like, there are lots of reasons you can just have a bad hand dealt, and there's not much you can do about it.
Yeah, you'll never recover from that in the way that it is right now.
Yes.
Well, and you said Republican, but we'll just say right and left.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about is more. That's like I'm trying to think what the political map is, because there's fascist and what's the one on the bottom? It's like
Liberal?
libertarian. Well, libertarian.
Well, yeah.
Is
There's like the same thing.
Yeah. Is basically.
I'm gonna be bad at this.
No, it's okay. It's basically anarchy. So you have like fascism up top, anarchy at the bottom. So it's like the level of control is the vertical on that, and then economics and like social interaction is the right left. But
I would like
it's all crazy when you start looking at like how, you know, fascist would be all the government oversight and everything, and the amount of that's controlling to make things the way they are is ridiculous.
The way going back to going on those stupid mission trips when I was young and being exposed to people like that, the one thing that you do see is when you go to different countries or extreme environments where people have a hard time existing, is the main difference is there is no American sentiment, or how do you like, basically it's bizarre because in our society there's essentially so much flexibility and resources going around that people believe that they can exist on their own. So it's like people prepping for doomsday, like they're going to escape it, basically. When you go to a place where it's an extreme, so in the US, like you have, say you're just like a typical East Coast person and you have a house and you go to your job and like you're worried about something and you're like, well, maybe I should get canned food for the next week, and you know, if the power goes out for a month then I can survive. And you start thinking that you can address problems like that by extracting yourself from them with your resources. And the reality is you can't. It is so codependent. Like, if things get that bad, the whole fucking thing's gonna collapse. And everyone's gonna fucking have problems, no matter how many resources you have.
It's slightly different probably. We're seeing that with supply chain right now.
Yeah, but
it's collapsing.
Yeah, so like, for example, when you go on those mission trips, you go to an extreme environment, that idea, it doesn't even occur to those people because they're already living on the edge. So they realize that they rely on their community. They don't think that they can live outside of their community. So it's, you know, that's like the main difference. That's one positive thing to going on those trips is, you know, you see that basically that whole idea is complete shit. And, you know, it's like this temporary bubble that's created around America that you can somehow live outside of your means and outside of the other people surrounding you. And it's the furthest fucking thing from the truth, basically. So, everyone has to conform to living on a planet together and with nature. So you don't go outside of those because you fucking die. And, like, whether you're in Alaska or in Africa or in some other you're a nomad in Siberia, like, they will have their own negative aspects to it, but they understand that human beings and the people you're around, you need them. You don't go, well, I'm scared of you. I'm going to try to save up my resources and survive this on my own in my basement, basically. It's like it's idiocy, so.
Well, I haven't done any of that, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But let's take, except for like the exorbitant where you get like people with like princes and stuff like that, where they are just hoarding masses of resources and wealth, but it's still at exploiting other people to get there.
Yeah.
And so in turn relying on them.
Yes.
But I was going to say, like, if you get a small bubble of that in a community and everyone's relying on each other and they find out that one guy is hoarding resources, it's not going to last that long.
Exactly. It's because in a society that values its members, its population, it understands that its population is reliant on each other. This is a shocker there, right? Like, you live in a group of people, and no matter what you think, like, go fucking try to live out in the middle of the fucking woods or in a field by yourself. It's just not gonna fucking happen. Like, human beings and culture have been cultivating and in societies fucking forever now. So it's like, yeah, you could technically go like Call of the Wild and do that. Is your life gonna be fun? Fuck no. Like, if you want to live like a decent life, like, it requires other people and cooperation, and and that has a lot to actually do with what's going on with the park. So it's like all of that it's all connected basically, and you just basically work with what you have. But yeah, ugh, gross.
Yeah, not really where you wanted to go, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have anything else you want to talk about right now? I know you kind of wanted to wrap up, get out of here before it's problematic. So.
No. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad we got to link up, chat quick.
Yeah.
Always enjoy we talked in a lot of like code where you can't say certain things and stuff, but it's okay. I think people are going to get the gist of what's going on.
Yeah.
The real important part happened in the first 5 minutes. We got to at least talk about the GoFundMe, what's going on there.
Yeah.
Again, links in the description for that.
Yeah.
Park socials and Spooky Action socials would be at HCS Skate Park and at Spooky Action Industrial Arts on Instagram. And then it's HCS LLC on Facebook, right?
Sounds right. I don't even fucking know.
Okay. And I don't know what the Spooky Action is on there. I'm pretty sure you have one.
Yeah, there's Spooky Action. If you just type in Spooky Action and HCS
Yeah, it should come up.
LLC, it should come up.
Okay. And then you don't have any like personal ones?
I don't.
You do have a personal Facebook,
I have a Derek Nelson one. Yeah.
People don't need that. Unless they want to.
I don't. Yeah.
You can send messages that he won't look at for a while.
Yeah, I'll get them eventually.
Otherwise, I'm not even going to drop my socials. You guys know them. They're in the link below, whatever. Follow the podcast if you don't. I don't know how you got this far and if you don't follow it, but whatever. I don't know why you're still listening. Thanks, Derek.
Thank you.
Yep.